Hey, if you're ever a character in a TV show or a movie, there are certain things that you're going to want to avoid doing because they typically mean your certain demise. No, like, for real. Why are there so many popular tropes that revolve around a character's untimely end? You've 100% seen these things before, whether you're aware of it or not. Some of them are a lot more pronounced and have almost become so overused that they're sometimes used as a parody of themselves, while others fly totally under the radar and probably still slip right past you to this day. If you haven't noticed any of these, it's probably because they're so subconsciously programmed into your brain at this point that you don't even realize how familiar you are with scenes like this. Be warned, because there will likely be some spoilers ahead because, well, we're talking about a mess load of characters that don't quite make it. What better place to start than with the old, "you're gonna be alright" speech? You know the one I'm talking about. A character is laying on the ground, obviously wounded or injured, and someone else, usually a main character, tries to console them and reassure them that everything is gonna be alright. It never is, though. As soon as those words get uttered, that's a final stamp that the character has seconds left. Remember when Forrest Gump was holding his dear friend Bubba in his arms on the battlefield and trying to help him fight through the pain by talking about a restaurant that they were going to open together? Well, of course Bubba passes away mere seconds later. I bet neither of them, nor the producers of the movie for that matter, would have ever guessed that Bubba Gump Shrimp would actually turn into a successful restaurant franchise. I wonder if the chain would have had the same success had Bubba pulled through and didn't break so many people's hearts in the movie. Then there's the iconic moment at the end of Avengers Endgame where Tony Stark uses all the Infinity Stones to wipe out Thanos and his fleet. Only that isn't really something a mortal human can do, and he pays the ultimate price. As he's laying there, actually, he finds a way to sit up, which is pretty cool of him. His wife, Pepper Potts, tries consoling him while all of the other heroes watch on. It's a touching moment, as well as a shocking one, because Iron Man passing away was an unexpected twist. It became pretty expected right before it actually happened, though, right when Pepper told Tony that everything was going to be fine. That right there sealed his fate. Bonus points if the character has someone waiting for them back home. This is typically more common in war movies, where a soldier will be gushing about his girl back home and how he can't wait to see her again. Yeah, that means he probably won't see her again. I'm sorry. Another sentence that's a guaranteed ending if a character says it is, "I'll hold them off." While usually noble and heroic in nature, it almost never actually works. It usually takes place when a secondary good guy helps the main hero escape by staying to confront their opponents. 9.5 times out of 10, it's a sacrificial mission. It buys time for the main protagonist, but the "I'll hold them off" character never actually succeeds. They're just there to be a glorified speed bump, but their sacrifice usually turns out to be necessary for the ultimate victory in the end. Then there's the character who says, "I'll be right back."
I'll be right back!
Saying that is almost a guarantee that no, they won't be right back. It's slightly less heroic than the previous one, but anytime a character is about to venture out into unknown dangerous circumstances, there's a high probability their "I'll be right back" could not be less accurate. If there's a monster or a killer or a threat of any kind roaming, and one character ventures off on their own with the promise of returning shortly, you can all but guarantee they won't be coming back. These characters are just used as plot devices, used to build up the seriousness of whatever threat exists.
It was me!
On certain occasions, saying nothing at all can be cause for alarm, like when a character has crucial information to share but is mere moments from meeting their maker. Aw, dang, what unfortunate timing. You'll notice as they're laying on the ground struggling to survive, they'll try to share the important info that only they and maybe the villain are typically privy to. Of course, getting it out and having the main protagonist learn that important information at that point would ultimately put an end to whatever storyline is building far too early in the story. It's meant to tease audiences, keeping them captivated by how close their hero comes to learning what they already know. It gives people a reason to stick around and keep watching, because now they're invested and want to know if the person they're invested in learns what they already know. This is such a common trope that it's actually become a joke of itself at this point. You'll see exaggerated versions where people passing away will draw it out to comedic lengths and then pass away mid-phrase while sharing something valuable, only to come back for however many times they want to go for it. It's funny, it's very self-aware, I just think it's time we can retire this one completely. There are also certain specific types of characters who are guaranteed to pass away prior to the conclusion. For example, the wise mentor never makes it. If the main protagonist has a mentor or an older friend who they share a respect for and an emotional connection with, then odds are that character is doomed one way or another. After all, they're just there to add emotion to the main character, that's their purpose. The same thing could be said for the love interest. This one is more specific to action movies, where the love interest is usually in peril. In comics, there's a popular term for this called fridging. It's named after the recurring trope of a hero finding his wife or girlfriend in the freezer, thus giving him a clearly defined motivation and a reason for the audience to root for him. It's been a staple of action stories for as long as they've existed, so much so that it's kind of become too repetitive. One example that comes to mind is Deadpool 2, where Wade Wilson's fiancée gets caught in the crossfire of an attack and ends up a casualty of her man's career choice. It gives the main character a reason to seek revenge, and a reason for the viewers to support said quest. The same could even be said for John Wick, who was absolutely avenging a loved one, only in canine form. The character that passes away is written into the story to do just that, to just pass away. That's the whole point of the role, and by meeting an untimely end, they're fulfilling their purpose. I'm not even saying that's necessarily morally okay, it's just the screenwriting norm. It's not unlike the tag-along third wheel. This is another character whose sole narrative purpose is to pass away. This likable sidekick is perfect for showing how powerful a main villain truly is, without killing off a main character. These roles are meant to be relatable and likable so that the audience feels sad when they ultimately perish. As a result, the audience's distaste for the villain will grow, and they'll be even more interested in seeing them taken down. These roles are often nicknamed red shirts, a reference to the original days of Star Trek where the less important characters would wear red uniform shirts. Then there's the redemption story. You know, the bad guy who turns over a new leaf, does something redeeming, and then almost immediately perishes. Like, their heroism doesn't quite make up for all the bad stuff, so they get what they deserve, only in a way that makes the audience feel for them. A bad guy turning good, or showing his or her good side, will almost always result in them passing away. They aren't completely forgiven, but they've served their purpose and can now get justice. What's an example? I don't know, Darth Vader?
Do it.
Sometimes villains don't redeem themselves, but they're just so annoying or frustrating that you just know there's gonna be a sweet payoff to come. This typically isn't the main antagonist, but more of a secondary jerk. If someone is being a complete and utter tool, then you can assume they won't make it to the end of the story. Movies tend to believe in karma, and a real bad guy will often get his just desserts. Perhaps the most satisfying example I can think of is Littlefinger in Game of Thrones. The dude spent the whole series plotting and scheming and being all messy, only for it to finally catch up to him in epic fashion. Another surefire way to know that a character's time is almost up is if they mention retiring soon. Oh lord, how many times have you seen this one? It's always just one last mission or one last job, isn't it? There's always 2 weeks left away from retirement or from getting their pension or something like that, making their death all the more bittersweet and heartbreaking. They were so close. Why would they do this to us? Here's a pro tip. If you're a police officer with a week left on the job, just don't mention it to anyone. Above all of these examples, perhaps the most guaranteed sign of a character about to pass away is an obvious one. If the role is being played by Sean Bean.
Sir Ilan, bring me his head.
That's probably the only one in this entire video that's 100% accurate 100% of the time. If you see Sean Bean on screen, he won't be around much longer, that much I can guarantee you. Well, what do you think? Are there any other glaring television and movie tropes that we forgot to mention? Let us know in the comments down below. Before you go, make sure to smash that thumbs up button. We'd really appreciate it. And make sure that you're subscribed to ScreenRant because you really don't want to miss all the awesome videos that we have coming your way. Until next time, bye!